Skyline is an idea that the communities of the South Wales valleys can take control of the landscape around their town for the long term, for generations to come.
The feasibility study just sought to answer 4 questions. They're big questions, but just 4 questions. Is there any demand from the communities that we've been working with to manage the landscape around the town? Because without that, what's the point? Are there sustainable business models for doing this? Because if there aren't, what we end up with, we talk to communities for 9 months, we end up with a list of projects, which is basically a shopping list for grant funding for the future. The third question is, can we do this in a way which doesn't damage but enhances the environment? So can we break that link between development and ecological damage? And lastly, the fourth question is, how do you govern a project of this scale? How do you get community consent for landscape scale change?
When we speak about land reform, we're not just talking about agriculture. We're talking about what it means to be human. I'm talking about a place where life is coming back into our communities, because we now have nearly 3% of the land under community land tenure. There are now over 400 community land trusts. 560,000 acres of Scotland is controlled by land. And these things are patterns and examples of how the future can be. But when you have always been disempowered, when you've always been told you're not good enough, you can't do it, when you've always had civil servants who have perhaps, or politicians, who have mistrusted community and have looked at government from afar to do it for you, you become set in a way that things have got to be done for you. And we now have in Scotland, instead of what we used to see as being an alien civil service, civil servants understand our communities and are making it work.
One of the ways that we were thinking about land in this project was as like the primary resource. It's like the primary economy of the place. And it has the ability to generate income and to create livelihoods for people. And that's entirely practical, entirely possible. But it will require the action of government and public agencies to provide that access to unlock that potential.
And I think it's unusual to have these conversations at a scale. They're often with communities, it's a very small site, and then there's a negative impact on the biodiversity because there isn't the space to have these conversations. The scale of all of these 3 communities has meant that you can look at those broader impacts and look at the wider stewardship of the land, and stewardship has been very key of all communities when they've talked.
But again, it's about this idea of looking at the familiar in a different way and thinking, where's my place in that land, in that monocultural hill of pine trees? What are we going to do about this in the future? How do we kind of reclaim this? And the answer is you already know how to do it.
I think it's just about making those decisions about this is the future, this is how we're going to manage our landscape in the future, and then being prepared to make some small mistakes, take the small steps together and work out how this is done. It's about the brain work, and it's exactly what we've all been described today. We've got models in Scotland, we've got models all across Wales.
Dig where you stand, dig into your community and into your psyche, and be prepared to be surprised by the joy that can break forth and carry you forward.